Two zombies cornered me in a gas station bathroom at 3 a.m. If you are listening to this right now, I need you to stay with me until the very end. Because what I am about to tell you is something I have never fully told anyone. Not my family. Not my friends. Not even the therapist I saw for 6 months after it happened. Every single time I tried to speak the words out loud, my throat would close up and my hands would start shaking like I was back in that bathroom again. Back in that tiny, disgusting, flickering light gas station bathroom in the middle of nowhere. With those two things standing between me and the only door. I know how this sounds. I know exactly what you are thinking right now. You are thinking this is just another story. Another guy on the internet trying to scare you for clicks. And I completely understand that. I would have thought the same thing before that night. Before September 14th, 3 years ago, when my entire understanding of what is real and what is not got ripped out of my hands on a dark stretch of highway in rural Kentucky. So before I go any further, I just want to say one thing. If you have headphones in right now, good, keep them in. But maybe turn on a light if you are in a dark room. I am serious about that. Because by the time I get to the part where the second one started moving toward me, you are going to want to be able to see what is around you. Just hit that like button real quick so more people can find this story. And if you are new here, subscribe, because I share things here that I would never say anywhere else. Now, let me take you back to that night. It was a Tuesday, not a Friday, not some dramatic stormy weekend. A boring, regular Tuesday in mid-September. I was driving back from my uncle's place in Lexington, Kentucky, heading home to Nashville. It is about a 3-hour drive on a good day, and I had left late, around midnight, because we had spent the evening going through some of my grandfather's old things after he had passed the week before. So I was already in a heavy headspace. Already a little raw. Already tired in that bone, deep way where your eyes feel like they have sandpaper behind them. I had my GPS running, my music on low, and a half-empty coffee cup in the cup holder that had gone cold about an hour earlier. The highway was almost completely empty. Just me and the yellow lines, and the occasional set of headlights coming from the other direction. I remember thinking how strange it felt to be the only car on a road for miles, like the world had gone to sleep and forgotten to tell me. Around 2:45 in the morning, my gas light came on. That little orange symbol that always feels slightly accusatory. Like the car is personally disappointed in you. I had been meaning to stop for the past 40 minutes, but kept telling myself the next exit would have something better, something more lit up, something that felt less isolated. But now I had no choice. The gauge was sitting on empty, and I was on a stretch of 127 that I did not know well at all. I took the next exit. It dropped me onto a 2-lane state road with no streetlights, just trees on both sides pressing in close to the asphalt. My headlights felt like they were barely making a dent in the dark out there. I drove about a mile down that road before I saw it. A gas station. One of those old independent ones. Not a chain, with a hand-painted sign that had half the letters faded out. 2 pumps under a canopy with one working light that buzzed and flickered every few seconds. A small attached building that served as the store. The kind of place that looks like it has been there since 1987 and has not been updated once since then. There were no other cars. No attendant visible through the window. But the lights were on inside, the pumps were lit up, and there was an open sign hanging crooked in the door. I pulled in. I remember the gravel crunching under my tires, and thinking how loud it sounded compared to the silence of everything around it. I got out of the car and the night air hit me immediately. It was warmer than it should have been for September. Thick and humid, like right before a storm, but the sky was clear. Just stars everywhere and that one buzzing light overhead turning everything slightly yellow. I started the pump, put my card in, got the gas going, and then realized I needed to use the bathroom badly. That cold coffee from hours earlier had caught up with me. I went to the door of the station and pushed it open. A little bell above it dinned. Inside it smelled like motor oil and those pine tree air fresheners and something else underneath that I could not immediately identify. Heavier, like wet dirt. The store was small. Aisles of dusty snacks, a cooler running along the back wall, a counter with a register. Nobody behind the counter. I called out hello and my voice just sat there in the air like it did not know what to do with itself. No answer. I figured the attendant was out back or in the bathroom themselves. I saw the sign for the restroom on the far wall with an arrow pointing down a short hallway. I followed it. The hallway was narrow enough that my shoulders nearly touched both walls. One bare bulb above, no cover. The bathroom door had a sign that said restroom, and below it in smaller handwriting, someone had written "Please close door behind you." I pushed it open. The bathroom was exactly what you would expect from a place like that. Single toilet, single sink, cracked tile floor, a mirror above the sink with a brown water stain spreading from the top corner. A paper towel dispenser that was empty. The light in there was a fluorescent tube on the ceiling, and it was doing that thing where it flickers fast enough that you are not sure if it is flickering or if your eyes are just tired. I went in, closed the door behind me, took care of business. I was washing my hands at the sink when I first noticed it. The smell. It had gotten stronger. That wet dirt smell from the store was now much more concentrated in the small bathroom, and there was something else mixed into it now. Something I had smelled before but could not place in that moment. Something metallic and wrong. I looked up at my reflection in the mirror, and I noticed something that made my stomach drop about 3 inches. The door behind me had no lock. There was a latch mechanism on it, one of those old slide bolt style ones, but the bolt itself was just gone. There was only the bracket empty. No way to lock the door from the inside. I told myself it was fine. I was almost done. I would just go back out, grab a snack, pay for my gas, leave. Simple. I turned off the faucet and reached for a paper towel before remembering the dispenser was empty. I wiped my hands on my jeans and turned to go. The door opened before I touched it. I want you to sit with that for a second. I had not touched the handle. I had not done anything. The door just swung open, slow and steady, like something on the other side had given it a deliberate, measured push. And I stood there, hands still damp, heart starting to do something complicated in my chest, staring at what was standing in the doorway. I need to be very careful about how I describe this, because I know how it sounds, and I need you to understand that I am not a person who scares easily. I was in the military for 4 years. I have been in 2 car accidents. I have seen things that would make most people's legs buckle. I am telling you this because I need you to understand the weight of what I am about to say. What was standing in the doorway was not right. It was a man, or it had the shape of a man. It was wearing what looked like mechanic's coveralls, the dark blue kind, except they were torn in multiple places and soaked through with something dark. Its face. I do not know how to say this properly. Its face looked like it had been through something. Like something had been happening to it for a long time. The skin had a color that skin should not have, a grayish, almost greenish undertone, like old meat left out. Its eyes were partially open, but the pupils were wrong. Too large. Fully dilated even in the fluorescent light. Like there was no light response happening at all. Its mouth was slightly open, and I could see its tongue, which was swollen and dark. And from between its teeth there was a slow drip of something black running down its chin. It was not moving toward me. It was just standing there in the doorway, swaying very slightly, the way a person sways when they are almost asleep on their feet. But its eyes, those wrong empty eyes, were pointed directly at me. I did not scream. I want to be honest about that. What I actually did was nothing. My entire body just went offline for what felt like a long time, but was probably about 2 seconds. Every system just stopped taking new inputs and froze on that image in front of me. That is what real fear does that the movies always get wrong. It does not make you scream. It does not make you run. It makes you absolutely nothing for a moment. A blank. Then my brain rebooted and the first coherent thought I had was get to the door. That was it. Just those 4 words. Get to the door. The thing was standing in it, yes. But the door opened inward, so if I could get past it, into the hallway, I would be out. My car was running. My car was right outside. If I could just get past this thing. I took 1 step toward the doorway, and the thing moved. Not in a lunge. Not fast. It moved the way a person moves when they have been injured and are working through the pain of every step. But it moved. It came forward into the bathroom, 1 step, 2 steps, heavy boots scraping against the tile, and I backed up against the far wall, which put the sink pressing into the small of my back and the mirror above me, and approximately 6 feet of space between me and this thing. I looked at its face again, and I noticed something I had not seen from further away. There were marks on its neck. Not bruises. Not cuts. Something that looked almost like decay. Like the skin was breaking down in places, pulling away from the tissue underneath. And the smell. The smell in that bathroom at that point was overwhelming. That wet dirt and metal smell, and something biological and rotten beneath it, so strong it made my eyes water. I pressed my back harder into the sink and said loudly, "What the hell is wrong with you, man? Get out of here. Get out." It did not respond to my voice. Not even a flicker. Its head moved slightly, like it was tracking something, and its mouth opened a little wider, and that black drip from its teeth got faster. Then I heard the bell above the front door of the station ding, and then I heard footsteps in the store. Heavy, uneven. That same scraping, dragging quality as the thing in front of me. And I understood, with a clarity that felt like cold water being poured through my skull, that there was a second one. The second one appeared in the hallway a moment later. I could see it over the shoulder of the first one, which had stopped moving about 4 feet from me. The second one was smaller. It had been a woman, I think, based on the clothing, jeans and a flannel shirt. The flannel was shredded at the shoulder, and there was a dark wound there that I am not going to describe in detail, because I ate dinner not long ago, and I still have a strong memory of it. Its face had the same coloring, the same dead dial eyes, the same open mouth, the same swaying. It shuffled down the narrow hallway and came to a stop in the doorway behind the first one, and now both of them were just standing there, looking at me, or looking toward me. I am still not sure those eyes were actually seeing anything the way you and I see things. 2 of them, 1 door, no lock. My car outside with a tank that was probably still filling. My phone in my jacket pocket. My phone. My brain latched onto that, my phone. I had my phone. I reached into my jacket pocket slowly, not making any sudden movement, and I pulled it out. My hands were shaking badly enough that I dropped it. It hit the tile and I went down to grab it immediately, crouching below the sink, and in that moment the first one lurched forward again. 2 more steps, and when I stood up it was very close. Close enough that I could hear a sound coming from it. A low, wet, continuous sound from somewhere in its chest. Not a breath. Not a moan. Something between the two. A sound that a living person's body cannot make. I unlocked my phone. No signal. Of course there was no signal. I was on a rural state road at 3 a.m. in a gas station that looked like it was built before cell towers existed. 1 bar maybe flickering in and out. Not enough for a call. Not enough for anything. The first one raised its arm. Not fast. Slowly. Like the movement costed enormous effort. Its hand came up and reached toward me, and I could see the fingers up close. Now, and I am going to tell you that the condition of those fingers was the thing that finally broke through every wall of denial my brain had been trying to build and made me accept what I was looking at. Those were not the hands of a living person. I did not let myself finish that thought. I did not let myself fully land on the word that was forming in my mind, the word that my entire rational adult brain was screaming was impossible, was fiction, was something that did not exist in the real world. I shoved that word into a box, closed the lid, and focused on surviving the next 60 seconds. I had one option that I could see. The only window in the bathroom was small, about 12 inches wide and 18 inches tall, mounted high on the wall above and to the left of where I was standing. A frosted glass pane, the kind that cranks open. It looked like it had not been opened in years. It was not a window I would normally consider an exit. Under normal circumstances, I would have laughed at the idea. These were not normal circumstances. I grabbed the edge of the sink with both hands, and I pulled myself up onto it. The sink groaned under my weight, and I felt it shift slightly in the wall brackets, and I thought for a half second that it was going to pull out of the wall entirely, and then I was up, feet on the edge of the basin, and I was reaching for that window crank. The first one grabbed my ankle. That grip. I cannot describe to you adequately what it felt like. It was not like a normal human grip. There was no warmth to it. It was cold in a way that felt like it went all the way through my jeans, through my skin, into the bone. And it was strong. Whatever had happened to this thing's body, whatever process was driving it, it had not taken the strength away. If anything, the grip felt mechanical, like something that could squeeze and would not think to stop. I twisted my ankle hard and kicked out with my other foot, which connected with something on the first one's face, and the grip loosened just enough. I cranked the window. It did not want to move. Years of paint and dessous had practically welded it shut. I cranked again, both hands white, knuckling the handle. Something cracked and it gave, swinging outward about 6 inches before stopping, which was not enough. I hit the glass with my palm, once, twice. The frosted pane cracked on the second hit and fell outward into the dark outside. The grip on my ankle returned. Both of them were close now. The second one had come fully into the bathroom, and I could feel the displacement of cold air that came off them both. This wrongness in the temperature of the room, and I went through that window headfirst. I do not fully remember how I did it physically. I remember cutting my left arm on the remaining glass in the frame, and I remember the ground being further down than I expected, maybe 5 feet, and I hit the gravel on my hands and one knee and just kept moving. I did not look back. I ran around the side of the building and my car was right there, right where I left it, still running, nozzle still in the tank. I ripped the nozzle out. I do not even remember putting it back. I got in, I locked the doors, and I drove. I drove for 11 minutes before I hit a town. A real town with streetlights and a 24-hour diner and 2 cars in the parking lot of a motel, and I pulled into that diner parking lot, and I sat in my car for a very long time. My hands were still on the wheel. My arm was bleeding onto my jacket. The cut was not deep, but it was long, and it was bleeding steadily. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror, and I barely recognized the face looking back at me. I called 911. I told them what I had seen. The dispatcher asked me several clarifying questions in a tone that was professionally neutral, but which I could tell was being deployed to manage what she likely assumed was either a drunk or a mentally ill caller. She said she would send a unit to check the location. She asked me to stay where I was. I stayed. A police officer arrived at the diner about 20 minutes later. A second unit had gone to the gas station. The officer who came to me was a county deputy, late 40s, calm in that practiced way that law enforcement people get. He took my statement, looked at my arm, said I should get it looked at, and then after about 10 minutes he got a call on his radio. He stepped away to take it. When he came back, his expression had changed in a way he was working to control. He asked me again to describe exactly what I had seen. I did. He wrote it down. He asked if I had touched either of the individuals. I said one had grabbed my ankle. He asked me if the skin had felt cold. I said yes. He wrote something down and stopped writing. I asked him what they had found at the station. He looked at me for a moment in the way that people look at you when they are deciding how much to say. Then he said that the unit had found the station unoccupied. He said they had found signs of disturbance inside. He said there was evidence that 2 individuals had been present, and that those individuals were no longer on the premises when the unit arrived. I asked if they had found blood. He said they had found some biological material consistent with injury, yes. He said the investigation was ongoing. He told me I could go, gave me a case number, said someone would follow up. Nobody followed up. I had the cut on my arm stitched at an urgent care facility the next morning. 7 stitches. The attending doctor asked me what happened, and I said I cut it on a broken window. He did not ask further. I drove home to Nashville in daylight, with every single window in the car down, watching the other cars on the highway with something that I can only describe as animal gratitude. Regular people in regular cars doing regular things on a regular road in daylight. I had never been so relieved to see traffic in my life. Here is the part I think about the most, though. It is not the grab on my ankle. It is not the eyes or the smell or the sound that thing made in its chest. Those things visit me in dreams often enough, yes. But the thing that I cannot stop turning over in my mind is something I noticed when I was on the sink, right before I went through the window. right in that last second before everything became pure movement and survival instinct. The first one had stopped reaching for me. It had lowered its arm, and it had turned its head slightly toward the second one. And there was a moment, just a fraction of a second, where I could have sworn that something passed between them. Not words, not sound. Something else. Something like communication. Like they were deciding something. Or like one of them was deferring to the other. I have spent 3 years trying to convince myself that I did not see that. That it was the fear playing with my perception. That two things with no living intelligence in them cannot communicate anything to each other. I have mostly succeeded in convincing myself, but mostly is not the same as completely. And on the nights when I cannot sleep, when I am lying in the dark at 3 a.m. and the quiet gets too quiet, I find myself thinking about what they were deciding in that moment. Whether to come after me through the window, whether I was worth the effort, whether they let me go on purpose, whether they knew I would go home, and that one day, maybe when the gas light came on again on a dark highway, I might take an exit I did not recognize and follow a road I did not know and see a light buzzing under a canopy with gravel that crunched under my tires and feel a warmth in the night air that should not be there for the time of year. I do not drive at night anymore if I can help it. I keep my gas tank above half at all times. I have driven 1,000 miles out of my way to avoid routes that take me down state roads without streetlights after dark. People who know me think it is a quirk, an anxiety thing. They are not wrong that it is an anxiety thing. They are just wrong about what caused it. That is the story. All of it. Everything I remember from that night, and everything I have thought about it since. I have never told it this completely before, and I do not know that I will tell it again. There is something exhausting about pulling it all the way up to the surface like this, laying it out in order, making it real again with words. If you are still listening, thank you. Genuinely. It means something to me that someone is out there hearing this. And if you are the kind of person who does not scare easily, who hears something like this and immediately wants to find that gas station, who has already started thinking about how they would look it up, I want you to do me one favor, just one. Do not go at night. And if you absolutely have to stop somewhere on a dark road and the only option is a place that looks like it has been forgotten by time, and the light above the pump is buzzing, and the air is warmer than it should be, and you walk inside and you call out hello, and your voice just sits there in the air like it does not know what to do with itself. Leave. Get in your car. Drive until you hit lights. Drive until you hit people. Drive until the world feels like itself again. Because whatever I saw that night did not want me specifically. It just wanted someone. Anyone who stopped. Anyone who walked down that narrow hallway and pushed that door open without a way to lock it behind them. That night it was me. I made it out. Not everyone who stopped at that station before me might have been as lucky. And if those two things are still out there somewhere, still moving through the dark in that wrong, slow way, still breathing that wet soil and metal smell into the air around them, still making that sound in their chests that no living person can make, then there will be someone else eventually. Another late driver. Another empty gas gauge. Another road with no streetlights. Stay safe out there, I mean that. Lock your doors tonight. And if you wake up at 3 a.m. for no reason at all and the room feels slightly wrong and the air feels slightly thick, just turn on a light. Do not go to the window. Do not go to the door. Just turn on a light and wait for morning.